the live because they need to see you there.
Okay.
So hello everyone. I'm Evgenia and this is Spotlight podcast. And we have today with us Tanzila Khan, and I will soon present her as well, who our guest is. So, just a couple of words about Spotlight podcast. We run every Thursday at 12 o'clock. So, it's lunch in Sweden, it's at 12 Central European time. And we are doing it live. So, all of you who can join us on your lunch, you can ask questions directly to our speakers. So we want to have a live discussion with comments and questions. It's the best because we have the best speakers and it's the opportunity to actually ask them anything. If you miss the live sessions, it's okay because everything is recorded and saved on YouTube. We have a channel which is called Spotlight Platform with one T. It's an English platform word. So go and find us there, follow us so you will not miss anything. And then if you want to watch back any of the videos we do of the interviews, you can easily find them there because they are easily lost in the social media, in Facebook and in LinkedIn. So follow us, and it's also for us an indication that you appreciate what we do. If you follow us, then it means that it's needed. Anyway, when we meet, we talk about diversity, inclusion, and belonging in the workplace, and we talk about different topics because it's a huge area. And but the speciality why we are meeting here is to be concrete. So it's concrete methods, concrete experiences, evidence-based practices, and recommendations from experts, which we are dealing with. So that's why it's good to ask questions. And today we have a topic which is called disability inclusion. And this is also a huge topic because we have globally 1.3 billion people experiencing significant disability, and this is 16% of the world population. So each 1 in 6 has a disability globally, and 10% in Sweden, 10% of population 16 to 64 also have some kind of disability. So it's a huge work. Tanzila has disappeared. I hope she joins us soon. But I hope that these numbers show that this is a huge potential. It's a huge talent pool of people with disability, which is unfortunately quite underrepresented on the labor market globally and also national level. I speak about Sweden. So today let's speak about what is disability, disability inclusion, and also Tansila is here to help us to understand how we can work with this concretely, because it's not a coincidence she is here with us. This lady has been traveling over 19 countries and training all different types of NGOs, organizations, public, private, in this topic. So she knows what she's speaking about. Apart from that, Tanzila has written 2 books. Tanzila made a short movie and has a number of awards of being advocate and of being trainer and expert in the topic of disability inclusion. So she actually got a prize from Swedish Institute, from us, from Sweden, and also she got a prize from Amal Clooney. And this prize was given by the King of England, right, Tanzila, to you. He was giving you the prize. You are so beautiful there on the scene that absolutely stunning taking this prize. So I advise everyone to go to Tansila's LinkedIn profile and check that one is a beautiful post. And also Tanzila is a traveler, and she has a blog when she travels, and she writes about accessibility of different places. So you can, it's really fun to watch your observations and opinions, and some things are also so easy to change, easy to mend, but it's something you don't think about. So it's really fun to follow you because it's fun, but it's also a big practical values or value of what you do. So I can speak another hour, but we have only 1 hour about who you are, Tansila, and what you do, because your experience is huge. But let us discuss instead that you tell what you do and how we can become better in terms of disability inclusion in the workplace. So, very warm welcome to this podcast today.
Thank you so much, Evgania. And one thing that you totally forgot to mention is that I'm the one who has been chasing you all this time, because I've seen your work and the way you resonate with the values of inclusion. I am adamant that you're somebody I want to work with, who will give the due respect and space to people with disabilities that they deserve, not just at workplace but at homes, in the community, on the street, on billboards. So kudos to you for everything that you do, and thank you so much for having me today. I can just quickly share a little bit about the trajectory of my work, and uh,
Yes.
and then we can talk a little bit about what's it like to be inclusive at the workplace. I always say that inclusion actually starts in the mind, and sometimes in our families, at home, in our hearts, and then we take those values to our workplace, and then they reflect in the community. I
Yes.
was born with a disability, and growing up, I was sure that I will never get a job because the infrastructure in Pakistan, which is my home country, was not very accessible. So I never really prepared myself for the workplace. I never really expected myself to be at the workplace. I thought maximum I'll just be a stay at home person, because even marriage was not something that I would consider because of the high level of stigma that people with disabilities experience. So I was convinced that I'm going to have a very boring life, and I'm never going to do anything substantial or meaningful because of the conversations around me. And these are the circumstances I grew up in. No doubt the family was very supportive and loving, and people were very nice on the street. But I think kindness is something that is an add on. Equality and independence is basic to human rights. But fast forward, here we are in conversation with Yevgania, and when I look back and hear that I've managed to travel to all these places and I've managed to do a lot of these things, there are two reasons for that. One, because I believed in myself to push boundaries and take risks and ask for what is basic and rightful. And number two, there were people like you on the other end who had a listening ear, who had power, and who did give me the opportunity and platform, and then I proved myself right. So now this is a perfect marriage of someone who's at the receiving end. People with disabilities are in a system that works against them. So sometimes they are not more than just beneficiaries in a global corporate or in a work environment. And sometimes we are reduced to just tokens. We're just approached during December or March, when December is like 3rd December is International Day of Disability, and March is like 8th March, Women's Day. So we were approached during those periods to become faces of their brands and portray a softer image of certain companies. But that's it. But there is no proper integration of people with disabilities in the systems that are created. So learned these things through practice and through experience, and not through reading or any academic degree that I got. So my experience was completely street experience of, going to offices, asking for sponsorships, because I never had my own job, so I had to do my own projects. So
Mm.
it's this is like an overarching experience of mine. And apart from that, I would love to hear from you also, Evgania, that I want to ask you, what is your understanding of a disability? What do you think a disability is? And then I can take it from there.
Yes, a good question, because this was my first question to you actually. Because when I listen to you, it resonates so much with being a migrant woman in another country. And when you describe disability, it's like your possibilities, your opportunities are so limited. So you are thinking, what am I going to do in this country? Me, who migrated to Sweden as a student for many years ago, I had exactly all those thoughts which you have. It's like, will I ever work with what I like to work, or will I be pushed to works which I like, yeah, for survival? And will I ever find work? Because there are so many people with migrant background who never find work, or who find work 10, 15 years after, and then doctors who drive taxi. It's nothing bad with driving taxi, it's not what I'm saying, but they're educated workforce which is not doing what they're educated for. So, and for me, self-realization has always been super important. So I was puzzled exactly, like, will I do something which I am capable to do, which I can do good, or will I be forced to the works which are like, yeah, which are not something for me? So that's why for me disability, exactly as being migrant, or being like another like ground protected by discrimination law, and grounds which are also mentioned in Agenda 2030. This, when you are not you are minority of some kind, and then you are capable to do everything, but the opportunities are there, not matching your expectations and your. So for me, is exactly the same. I don't know what disability is because I do not have disability, but I know what being a migrant and what being a young woman. So, and it's quite frustrating, this what you want and what you're offered, and then you need to fight, and then you make this what society thinks protects you and what is your weakness, but you make it to your strength. And that's why we are sitting here. And when I contacted you for the first time, I got chills, because this strong personality of yours and how you discuss, you're really a businesswoman, you're entrepreneur to your core, to your bones. So this is, but I can guess that your disability also uh, contributed to your character and to who you are. Otherwise, you would be maybe happy with less and not traveling to 19 countries and getting award from Amal, Clooney, and all those awards. And you have started companies and books and movies, like, you are amazing. And I think if you didn't have your disability, you would be happy with less. Exactly. If I didn't have my ethnical minority status, I would be maybe happy with less as well. So I don't know, it's a long answer, very philosophical, but do you agree? What do you think
I
about?
com- I completely agree from the perspective that we are fighting against a system that was put in place without consultation. It was put in place by people who were not that were power oriented. And I mean, the moment we wake up, whether you're a man, you're a woman, you're a disabled person, you're a leaf, you could be a rock, you're in a system that's against you. That is something that I've learned. So for you to be a migrant in a country where people are different, you're a new person, you have to prove yourself, you have to prove your worth, you have to make your own space. The system is technically against you. You will meet good people who will give you that way. Same applies to me. I think our identities are more relative in the sense that if we lived in a world where ramps would be a common understanding, I
Mm.
don't think I would be a minority. I don't think I'll be considered like any other part of the society. Just like old people are a part of the society, you don't get rid of them when they reach a certain age. You have to
Yeah.
create space and activity for people who are elderly. Similarly, babies, you have to be born a baby who's very much disabled. You can't talk, you can't express, you can't walk, you're completely dependent on the society. But if you don't have babies, how will you have a society? So it's more relative. So, and if a very common language was braille, if we were taught braille in school, I don't think being a visually impaired person would be a stigma. It would be, it wouldn't even be considered a disability. It will be like, yeah, okay, so what, that person can't see, but we all speak braille, we can all learn with each other. If we learn sign language, so if you look at a world from that perspective, people like myself, we are reduced because the stigma is so high. And not just in the south, unfortunately, even in Europe, even in the global north, it's only the blessings of traveling. When you travel and when you realize that my country is not the problem. In fact, in my country, in Pakistan, if I'm stranded somewhere, 10 people will show up to help me. I
Mm.
cannot expect that in Sweden. People will not even look at me unless I ask for help. And if I ask for help, I will get that help. So this mindset has to be addressed because a society has to have the best of both worlds. The independent lifestyle for a person who's different, who has a disability, and also the sense of independence that that person can experience. The only reason, Yevgenia, I've been able to contribute like a little bit in different causes. For example, menstrual health care had nothing to do with disability, but it was something
Mm,
that all women experience. I was able to work on it was because I felt independent enough to do it. I had that sense of confidence coming from it. So when you disable an entire population, whether you're a migrant or whether you're a person with disability, you're not just suppressing them, but their talent. Like you pretty much mentioned, that is an untapped pool. You're suppressing their problem solving skills. I mean, today, the way I solve problems are so different because my eye level is here, your eye level is there, my perspective is different. I'm going to think from angles you can't even imagine because it's my survival mode. I have to
yeah,
survive. If, God forbid, there's a fire in a building and I'm on the seventh floor, I will escape that building if I have to, but not through the elevator. I don't know, God knows what amazing capacity building will take place, but it's going to be different. It's going to be out of the box. So, companies today, coming to the workplace, companies today are missing out these perspectives that are prevalent in the society. And if they bring them to their workplace, they can
mm,
create products and services. And you just don't have to be inclusive in terms of hiring people. What about the
mm,
target market that you're serving? I would like to
yeah,
give the example of IKEA. IKEA has its own foundation. IKEA is such a big brand, huge fan following. But if I go to IKEA, I'm scared to purchase anything because I know I cannot go home and assemble it.
ah,
There is no support that IKEA provides for people with disabilities to
okay.
assemble their products for them. So they lost a customer that way. If I have that support, I'll be going there over and over again.
Absolutely. And they lost not one customer, but 1.3 billion customers, because this is what always amazes me, that you lose as employer who sells services or products twice. You lose the best talents because you don't adjust. And the thing is, as you say, if you have ramps, if you adjust your place, this is the only thing you need to do, or work more on distance, but you can definitely physically adjust to create conditions. But imagine to lose 1.3 billion customers worldwide, and in Sweden so many people who could not enter your restaurant, who could not enter your workplace, who cannot, like IKEA, assemble things. Imagine how much money you lose in from both sides. It's incredible that it's still not thought about, because it's so obvious when you say that you lose, and it doesn't cost much to adapt. The only thing you need to adapt your workplace, your conditions for people with disability to come and work for you. But and we have like agenda 2030 goals, which are very clear. We have special conventions on disability. People with disability are protected by European and national discrimination law, but this is like in Sweden, which I find very aware country in many ways when it comes to discrimination, and it's a lot of work done proactive and also like against discrimination, but it's still a huge difference between when it comes to employment. Like if it's 7% unemployment rate to majority population, then it's 18 to people with disability. And where does it come from, this number? It's like, for me, how can you not understand this simple win-win, which is so obvious how much you lose if you don't do it? So it's unfortunately, as you say, the world is far from being inclusive when it comes to disability and workplaces as well. But Tanzila, let me ask you this question, because I was curious and you partly started to answer it. You came to Sweden from Pakistan, but apart from that, you've traveling globally all over the world and you've seen it all. You've seen many countries. How do you rate, it's a little bit provocative, how do you rate Sweden in terms of inclusivity if you speak globally? Is it like the best top, or is it somewhere middle, or
I like
what do
Sweden for one thing, that there's a lot of visibility in terms of the artworks, like which is missing in other parts of the world. For example, if they say they're inclusive, when you see a visual representation of a brand, you do see certain inclusivity in that you can see women in hijab, you do see people from
Mm,
different walks of life and different ethnicities. I like that. That is refreshing to see, because many companies around the world don't do that. Even today in Pakistan, being colorism is such a big problem that only fair skinned people will be placed on a billboard, and pretty looking people. But according to their definition, I think everybody is beautiful in their own way.
what is
But
pretty looking people anyway? I don't.
I don't know, but they're always like,
Really
trying to create that conventional imagery of somebody. So I often think that disability would not even fall near to that, because according to
Mm,
them, disability is ugly. It's something redundant.
mm,
It's something people don't want to relate to. They don't want to see a beautiful dress on someone in a wheelchair because they don't want to be in a wheelchair. So, from a marketing point of view, that does make sense. But there are people in the world on a wheelchair and they have a lifestyle and they're not disgusted by themselves. So, that cancels out their mindset, because in
mm.
reality, and even if you're not in a wheelchair, probably your loved one is. Probably there's an uncle, auntie, or child. A lot of people who I work with are parents of children with disabilities, or who have parents in a wheelchair. So it's an ecosystem around one person. For example, it's me, then it's an ecosystem. So coming back to your question, that yes, Sweden does have very good visibility. I like it. Sweden has amazing laws. I
Mm.
also like it. And I think Sweden is also in the same direction. There's a lot of room for development. Because I'm on the grassroots level at the moment, it's only been 3 years that I've been in Sweden. I'm still trying to navigate my way. I am sure that if I try to get my foot in the door, I can be called in for a meeting, I can be given the opportunity to speak up and contribute my ideas. Then it has to be the power of the idea that has to get through. And I have not had any ugly experience at the moment. I've heard my friends have. A lot of my friends have not had good experiences, but that's their story to tell. In my case, I have not. I have not been. I've not faced a closed door yet, and I hope I never do.
Mm.
So I hope. And but I also feel that there are a lot of ideas from my own hometown that I carry that can be implemented, because it's such a diverse country that I think all ideas have its own space, and it's only a matter of time and resources, and everyone can get to do and live their dream. Everyone can get to do what they're passionate about.
Absolutely, and I hope like all minorities who are defined by anti-discrimination law, who are protected specially, that law will finally disappear, because there is no need to protect. Because as you say, when you fix the ramps, when you fix, like, it's nothing else is needed. You don't need to do anything else extra, because give the same opportunities for all to apply for jobs and do, like, yeah, there are a lot of ways to do it in a good and inclusive way, and then you will get the best workers. And I mean, I imagine to get you on board as a worker, with your brilliant head and everything you've done, and your extreme, like, working capacity extremely high. So it's like it's a God-given present for any company to have you. But I mean, don't you have adjusted working conditions, you lose you, because you will never apply to that, and then you take someone uh, much less talented, because okay, we don't have a ramp. So it's let's hope that we are, by advocating and by working, that we are approaching to the right direction. But that's why we're here today, actually. You have been educating many, many, many companies. So tell me, is it something apart from, you said that at the beginning, we start from the mindset. Is it something apart from mindset which is needed? So, what is in the big steps? What the employer organization needs to do in order to become inclusive in terms of disability? What are the big chunks of work, in your opinion?
The first thing I've observed is that many companies do want to become inclusive for people with disabilities, but they don't want to spend any money on it. But
Mm,
it's not spending money, it's investment. When you create a building, you put in a bathroom. It's an investment, because that's how you make it a safe place for anybody else. So
mm,
accessibility should always be treated like an investment. It will always be used. Secondly, I've noticed that companies also need to face the reality and address their own biases. I was having a board game session. We'll talk about the board game also in a bit. So,
Yes.
the board game is actually, in fact, I have one over here. I can just quickly show.
Yes,
The reason
please.
why I'm bringing up the board game is because something happened when we were playing the board game. So, this is the board game. It's called Whoopie Town. And I think I shared this with Yevgania, you as well, that when you play the board game, you have successes, you get rewards. If there are excesses, you get reward. If not, you get penalty. So some people are playing the board game and they really want to be inclusive, but they were having a conversation that who deserves to go to the barber shop. So I was sitting on the side and I was watching, observing this conversation among this team who was like, should a blind person go to the barber shop? Oh, but should a deaf person go to a barber shop? And I did not interrupt because I wanted them to come to the conclusion that everyone deserves to go to the barber shop. Everyone should have access. And they were having this debate, and luckily they reached to that conclusion themselves. So I think companies, before they go ahead and design any programs or take any initiative, they need to have a value clarification within the workplace about, do they actually believe in what they're doing? Because if deep down you have this deep hatred for people with disabilities and you're like, they're going to waste my time, and what a bunch of people that I have to work with, oh god, they're just so slow, they have too much, they have too many needs. If you have that mindset, it's going to reflect in the company. And there are many companies where you can see that they're just scratching the surface when it comes to disability inclusion because their values are not clear. So that's one I think that I identified, and I work with companies on that currently in some clients here in Pakistan as well, and in Sweden. And then secondly, I've noticed that once you introduce any inclusive programs,
Tansila's internet is not great as it seems. It's lagging a bit.
from
So,
the top. Am I back?
Tansila, yes, you're back. Can you please repeat then when you go to companies because it was you disappeared in totally. Yes, friends, it's something with internet. This is like beauty of internet and globalization, but it's also nothing you can control when it happens, like in this case. So we hope that you are back, Tansila, but you are lagging, not you, but your internet. Let us hope that it will be solved because we just came to the most interesting part of the conversation of how to deal with disability inclusion in the workplaces. And as everything else, as Tanzila mentions, as everything else when it comes to inclusivity, there is a lot of training, a lot of inspiration out there. We are I've been myself in so many seminars and conferences, and you hear the great speakers, you're inspired, you're like, yeah, now I come back to my workplace and then I do the work. But the problem is that you don't have anything concrete to do not you don't know how to do it concretely. So, and disability inclusion is not different from any other type of diversity, inclusion, and belonging aspects, because it's the same. It's exactly as Tanzila says, that yeah, you're inspired, but how do you deal with it when you go back to your workplace? And also, how do you concrete, and then also then you need to invest. This is also something when I see in common for any topic when it comes to inclusion, because when it comes to business or financials, nobody's taking it like, oh, okay, let's go to this training and do this and then go back and then we are like inspired. and then let's put this person, like one token person from the company who is already sitting in a wheelchair, or migrant woman, or any other kind of representative for the group. So let's make them like do the work as volunteers. But the problem is that this is not how it is done. What we need is a strategic work, and we need to look at inclusion exactly as we look at business, exactly in the same way, to plan, to measure, and to have it's integrated in our DNA. Tanzila, I took a little bit of freedom to reflect how disability inclusion is in line with any topic of inclusion and diversity of other groups. So please, the floor is yours, because the internet started to shake when you started to say, when you go to companies and you wanted to say the challenges.
I think what is to start from the top management all the way to the last client or customer that you have. You can't just hire one person in a wheelchair and call it a day. That is a very, very, it's like scratching the surface and it never helps. And I think inclusion is a long term process. It's something that you start small and it expands. It can't be just one initiative or one campaign, because it never works. Inclusion is something, it's like part of the meal. Like every day when you eat something, you have to do something towards inclusion. That's how you achieve robust and very concrete inclusive environment that creates the psychological safety, and nobody walks in there feeling unsafe, that my voice will not be heard just because I am horizontally and vertically across the workplace, and from the management all the way to the clients. Also, there are many companies who are inclusive at workplace, but their products and services, people and people with disabilities can't even use. Or buy
Tansila, it's
these
really bad
trust.
internet. Can you restart it somehow? Because it's you hear your words very, very interrupted.
Yes.
I think it's good if you maybe restart or connect, if it's possible, to another, because it became perfectly, it started perfectly well, and now it's not, it's hard to understand what to say. It's really annoying when internet is doing these things to live streams. I'm very sorry to everyone watching us right now, and I hope it. Tansila, is it now? I think the picture is
Is
even
it?
better.
It's better. Okay, I look better
It,
now. Thank you. Because I think in Pakistan these days internet is a bit shaky,
yes,
and it's quite a conversation. But we should better now. You've gone, yeah?
it is. But you are still lagging. But have you switched? I mean, is it possible to switch to
Yes.
mobile or something internet during?
Yes.
Because
I just
it's
switched.
it
I just
was a
switched to
big.
my mobile.
Okay, good. Then it's maybe now it's again probably good.
Great. Can you hear me fine now?
Yes, I hope so. I keep my fingers crossed.
Okay. Yep. Me too. I really hope the internet does not. So, abiding workplace, following from the top management all the way to the clients, and also the customers.
Tansila, it's still very bad. Maybe you switch off Wi-Fi and only have mobile, because sometimes they uh, fight with each other. So you have only,
Let me do that.
at least when it helps me. I switch off Wi-Fi totally and only go for mobile. Uh, Otherwise, they try to steal your attention, both of them. Maybe it help. It's really, if it continues like this, I think we need to to schedule the second part of this conversation, because it's really so fun. And this Tanzila has developed this board game, which she has just demonstrated, which is amazing. It changes. It not only gives you practical
Hello.
knowledge. What you Hello.
Yes, is it better now?
I hope so. Now, inshallah, I keep my fingers crossed, like very much like this. So
Inshallah, me too. I hope it stays on. And I'm so sorry about this. I don't know why the internet is acting up too much today.
this is bad luck. So let us continue. So
Yes,
basically, when you said to workplace, what you mentioned so far, that you need awareness and like to look over your values, and you need to work with it every day, basically like you eating the meal. So we continue on a
exactly.
strategic level, what we can
Yes.
do more.
Yes, inclusion is like, like if you're having a very good work day, inclusion should be like the dessert of the meal. Because everything that you do, if you look at it from the point of view of inclusion and consider that, okay, questions like, is my product and service accessible to people with disabilities? Okay, which disabilities? There are four main disabilities. One could be physically disabled, one could be hearing impaired, or visually impaired, or emotionally or intellectually impaired. Can these people, if not, I need to work on that. And if you are really a business person, an entrepreneur in the core, you will not let any part of the market go. You would want to capture them, otherwise
Mm.
you're not a sincere entrepreneur. So even coming from that angle, corporate companies and entrepreneurs need to look at that from the money perspective as well. Why not? I'm an entrepreneur, and if I create something, I want even the aliens to use it. I want the aliens to buy my product as well. Why not? So one has to be a bit more ambitious with their own products and services and make them accessible and inclusive from that point of view. At the same time, I think that companies also need to be a bit more adaptable. For example, they should be ready to make the changes because they it will pay off in the long term. And companies who've done that have seen the results. So one has to be a bit more adaptable and make the changes because
Yes, but let us become more concrete here when it terms, because nobody wants to be exclusive. This is like, it would be very surprising that like I want to exclude people, but people don't know what to do concretely. Company, so they think that to invite one token person represent the whole group. This is what normally companies do. These quick fixes, and they have one migrant woman, one woman in wheelchair, one whatever group they choose to represent. But this is actually worse, because this poor person carries on the shoulders all this responsibility, and only one different there. And also it doesn't change anything. So for example, if you would advise me with Spotlight, which is like education for and the consultancy for companies to become inclusive and diverse, and if you look at the Spotlight product, which are movies, training, and which are consultancy, how would you advise me to become even more inclusive? What am I forgetting here? Even though my head is, I really try to be inclusive. But you mentioned four categories of inclusion for types of disability. So how would you advise me to look at my product to make it inclusive for all four? Just become very concrete with videos and with consultancy services, and like when you have website, when you're like, what can I do better?
I think to understand that your first point that just getting someone in the wheelchair is not enough, because two people in the wheelchair can have a completely different two people in the wheelchair can have a one mean that one in a wheelchair, one who's a migrant. No, we mean the diversity of experiences. So probably you
Yes.
can you can get two people who are visually impaired, and both of them come from
Again,
very different
again your internet, Tansila.
walks of life. One could have
So again, your internet, it's not really working. But
is that
what you
coming up?
said, it was really, really a lot. But yeah, it's not nothing we can do. Let's continue and see. I definitely think maybe we will do it again this when you have better internet. But now let's see if it continues like this. It's because you what you say is so valuable. It's like to I don't really want to miss a word. So let us see how it goes. Otherwise, we can invite you again. I think it's better because our listeners
Yes.
they are losing the whole point if it continues like this. But what you said basically, the different groups share different experiences, and you cannot ask the person in a wheelchair, okay, is it inclusive? You go to all four and ask, right? This is what you said when the
Yes.
internet was bad. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, that's what
Let's
exactly what
continue.
I mean. Because even within disability, there's a lot of diversity because disability falls on a spectrum. One
Yes.
could have one missing arm and have a completely different experience. One could have their entire, like, half of their body paralyzed and have a very different experience of traveling, very different experience of shopping. So there's such a giant pool within disability, and if you start tapping into these individuals, you will have such a diversity of data
Yes, diversity of data, exactly.
that is
That's
also untapped. So a lot of companies are not
it's happening again. Yeah, this is so frustrating with internet.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. It's
No,
really bad today.
yeah, it's really it's nothing you can do. It's really nothing. Yeah, but yeah, collect data. It's what you said, and also I'm thinking I had a wise team from Mia Lamate. It's a Greek NGO for blind people and visually impaired people. So they are talking that they said something which stick to my mind forever. Nothing about us without us. So both when you ask your employees and customers out there, just what you just said, it's so simple. Ask, right? Just ask these people with different types of disabilities, okay, how is my product for you? Are you, is it accessible enough? Is it inclusive enough? If not, what, how can I do it? So it's a great advice we take. Even the internet is extremely bad for Tansila, but this is something, this advice is worth enduring this pain with internet. But I almost think that that we will retry this podcast because it's really Tansila has developed, as I mentioned, a board game which for companies and for organizations how to become inclusive. So this is like a very concrete way in a game format to learn what to do and how to do it. And we can put the name of the game and where you can purchase in the comment to this video on YouTube. So please subscribe to Spotlight platform if you want the game, so you can go and to the link and buy it because it's amazing and it's a little investment to really understand what the disability inclusion is and how to work with it in your workplace. So it's really a little investment compared to consultancy costs, for example. So if you're a little NGO without money, or organization without money, it's a good way to do it to a very little cost. So, and that's why I think we will this game is very good, and it's self learning. You can go through it and learn, but I think that we need anyway Tanzila's brain, Tanzila's knowledge to to be shared with us, because she knows both what company needs and want, and also she knows as person with disability what are the prejudices and what is lacking. So she understands both sides of this fence, both to be employer and employee with disability. So I think we will now, I think we finish for today. And I'm really sorry, because this is like super important and super valuable episode. And at least you've seen the first part of it. I hope you found something for yourself, because it's Tansila is incredible. So let us do like this. I promise to invite Tansila in the nearest future, one of the podcasts, beginning of April already, and we will inform you through YouTube and on all other channels, on Facebook, the LinkedIn, where you watch us, and we will do this podcast again, because it's too valuable to throw away like this because of bad internet. So I wish you all out there a good day. Thank you for being with us. And Elisaveta wrote, thank you, looking forward to the second part. Yes, you will get that. It will be even better than planned for today, I promise you. Thank you for bearing with this internet issue, and being with us today, everyone who is watching. And see you beginning of April with Tanzila again and better internet. So subscribe to Spotlight platform to get news where we are there on air again with this podcast and other important topics on belonging, inclusivity, and diversity. Have a great day, everyone, and bye bye.